What does deciding tomorrow's motion of no confidence through a secret ballot mean for MPs? Will the ANC MPs rally behind President Jacob Zuma, as it has been the case with previous motions of no confidence? Would voting a sitting president out of power through a motion of no confidence be in the interest of democracy? And what does tomorrow's motion of no confidence the most crucial for President Zuma and the ANC? What time is it? It's question time. Khoza and welcome to the show. My name is Makhosi Khoza. After close to a 2-month wait, National Assembly Speaker Baleka Mbete announced today that tomorrow's 8th motion of no confidence in President Jacob Zuma will be done by the way of a secret ballot. On 22nd June, the Constitutional Court ruled in favor of the UDM that Speaker Mbete has the constitutional powers to decide how the motion of no confidence can be decided. Mbete had to choose between an open or a secret ballot. A lot has been happening on the political front, though, with some ANC members of Parliament saying they will follow their consciences and will not toe the party line. Makhosi Khoza, Mondli Gungubele and Pravin Gordhan are some of those known to have adopted this stance amid reports of intimidation and scare tactics. This against the position of the ANC Chief Whip, Mthembu, and a number of officials who have instructed the party's MPs to toe the party line. But can President Zuma survive tomorrow's motion of no confidence? That's the big question. We are live. And if you can call us and hear your views, the number is 0891104210. Our international number +278911042110. Our Twitter handle at QuestionTime24. My guest today, David Lewis, is from Future SA, and Professor Stephen Friedman is a research professor at Politics Department at the University of Johannesburg. And joining us from our Sea Point studio is Professor Pierre Force. He's a constitutional expert. But before we get into the discussion, let's have a look at what Speaker of the National Assembly had to say earlier today.
I therefore determine that voting on the motion of no confidence in the President on the 8th of August 2017 will be by secret ballot. Okay, that was
Baleka Mbete making the announcement on a secret ballot vote for tomorrow's vote on the motion of no confidence, rather, against President Zuma. But we're going to take a quick break. When we return, we'll get into the nitty-gritties of today's show. How secret is the secret ballot? Welcome back. Indeed, this is question time. We're talking the motion of no confidence, and as I've introduced all my guests, let me start with Pierre Force down in Cape Town. How secret is the secret ballot tomorrow? Some are saying, well, the ballot papers are allocated per seat, so they would know that Mpo is seated at seat number 33, and therefore, if he votes this way, they would be able to follow me home.
No, well, the Speaker has to decide how the ballot is going to be conducted. I assume she has now said that it will be secret, so it will actually have to be secret. Whether your colleague sitting next to you is going to be able to see what you vote, I don't know. That will depend on individual people, whether they want to show their colleague or whatever. But in principle, the decision has now been taken that it should be secret. And that the votes then will be counted. It will be counted like with an election. People won't know who the ballot belongs to, I'm sure.
Okay. So, we're now being hypothetical. Suppose Jacob Zuma loses the vote. What then happens?
Well, if the President loses the vote, the President and the entire cabinet immediately must resign. So they resign from office. Then the Speaker becomes the acting President. And then within a 30-day period, the Chief Justice sets a new date for the National Assembly to gather, to meet. And the National Assembly then elects a new president from among the members of the National Assembly. It will be once again be some leader of the ANC, and that person will then reconstitute a cabinet. Some of the old cabinet members will probably be reappointed, maybe some will not be reappointed. But the government really stays the same in the sense that the same party remains in government because they have a majority in the National Assembly.
So, Jacob Zuma, President Zuma that is not a member of parliament at the moment. So, is there a possibility that, yes, he can lose the motion of no confidence tomorrow, Baleka Mbete acts for 30 days, come election time again, the ANC puts Jacob Zuma again, and you still have Zuma as president?
It is theoretically possible, but it's rather improbable. And the reason for this is that in terms of our electoral system, the schedule to the Electoral Act says the parties cannot just shuffle the lists as they wish, to change, to add people to the list and to take them to the top of the list. And so if there's a vacancy in Parliament, you have to fill that vacancy from the top of the electoral list. So although you can maybe get a few MPs to resign and then you top up the list from a specific province until there's no more names left, and then you can put the president's name on it, it will be rather difficult to do, especially in the short time that is available for it before the vote for a new president takes place. So it's not really probable.
Prof. Friedman, let me come to you. We know his stance. He's saying they must vote Jacob Zuma out and all that. But do you see this happening?
No. I think we can safely say it's not going to happen. I think you may see a few ANC MPs voting for the motion, but the vast majority of ANC members will support the motion. There may even be a sprinkling of votes from some of the smaller opposition parties against the motion. So I think that we can pretty much assume that at the end of this process, Mr. Zuma will still be president.
But, I mean, the same person, for instance, Jackson Mthembu is the one who was saying, no, we must all resign, and, you know, all of a sudden he's no longer singing that tune.
Yes. Look, something very interesting is going on, which seems to be missed by most commentators in the media. I mean, the real battle in the, you know, there's a lot of public debate about the future of Mr. Zuma, etc. The real battle in the ANC is not right now about getting rid of Mr. Zuma at the moment. The real battle in the ANC is about who wins in December. Yeah. Who actually takes control of the ANC in December. Now, if you take two prominent ANC figures who've been very vocal in the last week, the Secretary General, Gwede Mantashe, and the Chief Whip, Jackson Mthembu, are both clearly on the faction, who want Cyril Ramaphosa to be, for example, the next president, which means that the president's faction would be beaten. But they don't think that they have either the votes within the ANC or the clout within the ANC to get rid of Jacob Zuma now. So their priority is to make sure that their candidate is elected in December. And if that means supporting Mr. Zuma now, they will support Mr. Zuma now. That is why you also have the SACP saying they don't like Jacob Zuma, but they're not going to tell their MPs to vote against him. COSATU is saying the same thing. So there seems to be, except for that group of ANC MPs that you've mentioned, there seems to be among the factions an agreement that they're not going to support this motion, and that's why I don't think the motion will be carried.
You confident that you will get enough MPs to oust President Zuma?
No, not at all. But I think this is an important test for them. I mean, I think that what's probably going to happen is that there will be a group of ANC MPs who will vote for the motion. I think there will probably be a large number who will abstain. In other words, they will refuse to support Zuma, but they will also refuse to do something that they believe, I think wrongfully, that will undermine the ANC or undermine their preferred candidate in the 2017 election. And they have a dilemma, you know. Is getting rid of Zuma now going to be worse for the ANC prospects in 2019 than hanging on and having a huge scrap over it at the elective conference? So they have a real dilemma. I sympathise with their dilemma, if not with Jackson Mthembu's decision to call on them to oppose the motion. But I think either way, whatever the outcome is, from civil society's perspective, this is but one step in a process. And whether win or lose tomorrow, one can't let up the pressure that has brought us to this point. And that's what I think we've got to take home from all that has happened to us over the last couple of years, in fact.
Tebogo, you are in Taung. Welcome.
Yes. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Thanks for the call, Tebogo.
All right. We are speaking to Tebogo Chua here in Taung in Matolo village.
Okay, Tebogo.
But man, like Zuma, man, let us agree all for Zuma must step down. Current way, I have a resolution, the economy, and I will have got a duty to have it. So, Horakorean, Egaru Udira, Puso Ekarikia, Koma Swatin Hore. I would say, I chance Apaholo has also got a Mosadia Hahat. I say heritage in government about it. But something chooses a mood.
But Retapo, Locola, a Garagelona, Liling, Yankita Hudra Jalo File or Hona Lebatava, Twanting Bamoto, Secus Tulung, Etana Bone. No, but Yano Batoba Jankaele. People about by them or Puso in the by the way, Linkati. Kiruayana can membership Katua ANC 10 years. Okinando, you renewed last year for 10 years. So, Yano, I don't know, but you have moral or Ronayano, Rona SD members of ANC. And I said, Nafela Motokina complaining. He said, few, but Oba could move up a junk, could move by no Rikibo never to our a roller and Nemostilo. They're calling us from Taung, saying, well, he's a member of the ANC, but he believes that this is not hereditary. Zuma must go, the wife must not, well, the ex-wife must not take over and all that. But that is politics at a particular level, at a particular LSM. People are looking at it like, okay, no, we can't have another Zuma running the ANC or the country. But I would want to believe that there are more deeper reasons why, you know, things are the way they are.
Well, which things are the way they are?
In the manner that, if for instance, Tebogo is saying that he wouldn't want, he would rather have President Zuma to step down and allow somebody else not to take over. There are more serious dynamics as to how and who is going to actually succeed. Suppose this motion succeeds tomorrow, do you think it will just be Cyril Ramaphosa who walks into that seat?
Well, you see, the interesting political issue is if the motion succeeds tomorrow, you have a very, which I'm convinced it's not going to, but want to talk hypotheticals, let's talk hypotheticals. You have a very interesting situation in which you've got a balancing power in Parliament, which means that the majority has said the President must go. You've got another balance of power in the ANC. And now who decides who is the candidate you put up next? It's the ANC. Now, whether it's Mr. Zuma himself, it then becomes a factional battle about who you put up. So it's not automatically Cyril Ramaphosa at all, because Cyril Ramaphosa is part of one faction, and Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and others are part of the other faction. So you have a huge factional battle then, and you have this kind of disconnect between the majority in Parliament and the majority in the governing party.
Hold it there. We're now joined by the Chief Whip of the ANC from Parliament Studios, Jackson Mthembu. Welcome to Question Time. Are you confident going into tomorrow, Chief Whip?
We have been confident and we remain confident because, as we have said, there is no possibility of ANC Members of Parliament supporting a motion coming from the opposition to remove their president and, as a consequence, our government from power. We are therefore still confident. We will remember that we have said we will not dictate to the Speaker whether the vote should be open or through a secret ballot. We said as ANC, and we are still saying, we said we will support whatever position that the Speaker puts before the nation. We are therefore still committed to that. we are welcoming and noting what the Speaker has said in regard to this particular matter. But having said that, we will still vote against this motion by the Democratic Alliance and opposition forces.
Now, Julius Malema earlier speaking says we continue to lobby ANC MPs to vote with us tomorrow. Are there any meetings between the members of, the ANC caucus? Is it convening any time to re-emphasize, as you know, that there are cracks within the caucus? There are people who are saying, look, we are actually going to vote with the opposition in this case.
Yes, we do have a caucus tomorrow morning. It will be our last caucus before we go to battle. And we are making use of the term battle correctly in the context of Parliament being a contested political terrain. Now, you'll know, Tsedu, that the opposition has not minced their words in saying that they want to remove the ANC from government. And they have not minced their words, particularly the Democratic Alliance and the EFF, in saying the starting point in removing the ANC from government will be the removal of the president. Therefore, our own members, including those who have raised very legitimate concerns, very serious concerns of the state of our country, the state of our economy, and indeed the state of capture of our own government. We are saying as ANC, the best way of dealing with these matters is having immediately an investigation by a competent body like the Judicial Commission of Inquiry. Secondly, we are saying we are members of Parliament. All these state institutions that are said to be captured, most of them report to us. Why should we also not and go deeper into what has made them to be where they are? We have that responsibility as Parliament. So members of the ANC indeed are being lobbied to vote with the opposition. There are many emails that we are receiving. In fact, in the last 2 months or so, I've received over 2,000 emails, and I'm not the only one. All ANC members have received these emails. Secondly, there are some parties that are also speaking to individual members of our caucus to vote in favor of this motion. I can assure you that notwithstanding all these difficulties that I've alluded to, all the issues that have made South Africans to be anxious about the state of our country and the state of our government, we are saying let's investigate, and if we find that anybody has brought us to this state we are in today, those people must suffer the consequences, but after a thorough investigation. And the removal of the president, in our view, by also not adhering to the directive of our organization is not a line that members of the ANC will take in this regard. We will vote against this motion.
Okay, I've got 3 gentlemen here. I'm going to give them all an opportunity to just address you or give you a question or so. Pierre Force, let me start with you. There's Jackson Mthembu.
Yes, I was a bit curious about the claim that the Chief Whip made that the government is going to fall and that it will be replaced, because even if there was a vote of no confidence and it passed, which I don't think it will, but if it did, the ANC would still be the party who actually decides who the new president is, and they will form the government. So actually the government will be more or less the same. It will just have a new president. So I'm not sure I understand the claim that he made that the government will actually collapse.
Well, I don't know whether you have read your constitution well, because the constitution is quite clear that if a president is removed through this constitutional provision in Parliament, then even the government that has been set up by the president also has to step down. All members of cabinet are duty-bound to resign their positions. Now, it has never happened in the country. You don't know what will then happen when you collapse. That's collapsing a government, by the way, when everybody has got to resign from government. That
happened when Thabo Mbeki was recalled, basically.
No, the Thabo Mbeki, by the way, was not voted in Parliament and removed through this provision. Comrade Thabo Mbeki was asked by the NEC of the ANC, and again, there was no motion that came from the opposition to remove President Thabo Mbeki.
Okay.
It was an ANC that took that decision. In this instance, you will be removing a sitting president at the behest of the opposition, and whilst your party says don't. What happens if indeed your party brings back the president as a member of parliament and reinstall him as a president? So there are so many permutations.
Okay.
And we are saying, therefore, you are dealing with something that you have not thought of, but we are being led by an opposition that has always said, we will bring down your government. In fact, they would have brought down your government through this action.
All right. Professor Stephen Freedom, there's the Chief Whip.
Okay, what do you say to the proposition that the Speaker, who is also the chairperson of the governing party, has sold out on a basic democratic principle, which is that members of Parliament should vote in the open so that the South African electorate can see what they're doing, in order to score an advantage over opposition parties, because she knows the party's going to win and she can afford to do that. The consequence is that we've now established the principle that MPs can vote behind the backs of the people who voted for them. Isn't that shameful?
Well, first of all, Stephen Friedman, let us first say we fully agree with your public sentiments on this matter. You have adequately addressed the misguidedness of people voting through secrecy, because all of us are public representatives, and whatever we do in Parliament, all of us individually and collectively as public reps, our people must know what we have done. We cannot be doing whatever we do through the cover of darkness. But having said all that, that's why as ANC we said we will allow the Speaker to arrive at a mechanism in this respect, and she has indeed arrived at a mechanism, and that mechanism, as we speak now, is a secret ballot. We might have our own views, we might engage her at some other time, but the reality is that where we sit now, we are supposed to engage with that motion of no confidence tomorrow through a secret ballot.
Okay, and hold it there. Hold it there. Let me give David Lewis the final shot there.
You know, I don't think you need long-winded commissions of inquiry to work out that Jacob Zuma is not fit to be president of the country. You know that. A lot of people in the ANC caucus know that. And I think that the reason why the ANC leadership fear their caucus members doing the right thing and voting Jacob Zuma out of office is because the ANC is in such disarray that when it came to finding a leader to replace him, even temporarily, they don't have one that they could agree on. There's not even somebody like Kgalema who could be some sort of neutral person, as was the case in the transition from the Mbeki to Zuma administration, to keep the seat warm. Okay. And fundamentally, your position is a reflection of the weakness of the ANC, not of the strength of the ANC.
Jackson Mthembu, you've got 15 seconds to respond to that.
Well, we don't disagree. We ourselves have said that we are at our weakest. We have said so. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist to arrive at that. When we are at our weakest, how on earth do you think that we can then remove our own president of the country and our own president of the ANC? First of all, it is self-inflicting. damage.
Okay.
Secondly, work with the opposition to do so. You maximize their strengths, whilst in fact you continue to further weaken yourself. It's only a bewitched organization that can do so.
Oh, okay. Jackson Mthembu, the chief whip of the ANC, says only a bewitched organization can remove its own president. And that was question time for today. A big thank you to my guests and to you for watching the show. From me and the entire crew, Makhosi Khoza.